So, I'm still in shock about all this. Never thought I'd be posting here, but I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some advice on what to do next. Some background. Christine and I have been married for 12 years. We met during that big flood that hit our area back in 2012. I was volunteering with my buddy's church group filling sandbags, and she was coordinating the volunteer center. We clicked right away. She was funny, smart, and seemed to appreciate how hard I worked. We have 2 kids now. Son is 10, daughter is 8. I've always worked my ass off for our family. Construction during the day, and weekend security shifts at this office building. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and let Christine finish her business degree. She started working at this marketing firm about 3 years ago, and ever since then, things have been different. She's made these new friends who all drive Range Rovers and have vacation homes. Suddenly, our house wasn't good enough, and my jobs were embarrassing to her. Last week, I took a rare Wednesday night off to finally install these shelving units in our basement that Christine's been bugging me about for months. Our basement is right under the dining room where she hosts her weekly wine night with her friends. I didn't think much of it. Usually, I'm not home when they meet. So I'm down there with my drill and level, and I realize I can hear everything they're saying, like crystal clear through the floor ceiling. The vents in our house carry sound really well. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but then I heard my name. One of Christine's coworkers, I think her name is Karen, asked if she was still married to that minimum wage loser. And guys, my wife, the woman I've busted my ass for all these years, just groaned and said, "Not for long." She told them she had a meeting with a divorce lawyer on Friday and was going to claim mental cruelty and financial abuse. Financial abuse? I've been the one paying most of our bills for years, Karen asked, but doesn't he work 2 jobs? And Christine laughed and said, 2 shit jobs. My nail tech makes more than him. I deserve a real man with real money. I almost went upstairs right then, but I made myself stay quiet. Her sister was there and started telling her to remember the plan. Apparently, they'd been plotting this for months. Her sister told her to start crying in public places to build witnesses, whatever the hell that means. Christine told them she'd already posted on Facebook about surviving abuse and got like 200 comments from people sympathizing with her. I've never laid a hand on her or even raised my voice. Then her mom joined on FaceTime and asked if she'd opened that secret account yet. My wife, who I trusted completely, said yes. She'd transferred $35,000 into it. That's most of our savings. She said, and I quote, "He's too stupid to notice." Then they started talking about custody. Christine said she wanted full custody and her therapist friend was going to testify that I'm unstable. She said she already coached our kids on what to say to the court evaluator. My own kids. It got worse. They mapped out everything, fake therapy records, how to stage arguments where I'd look bad, and they even talked about planting drugs in my car to call CPS on me. I was shaking but somehow kept it together. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and hit record. Caught the last 20 minutes of their conversation. Then I quietly finished the shelf I was working on and went to the garage until they all left. I spent the night researching divorce lawyers and found one with great reviews who could see me the next morning. I took the day off work and brought the recording. The lawyer said it was gold. In our state, it's legal to record conversations you're party to or in your own home. That night, I checked our accounts. Sure enough, $35,000 was gone from our joint savings. I took screenshots of everything, then transferred the remaining money, about $8,000, into a new account only in my name. I also found the record of her lawyer consultation payment from our joint checking account. The irony. I didn't confront her right away. Needed to get more ducks in a row. The lawyer helped me file emergency motions to freeze our assets, and I documented everything. Changed all my passwords too. 2 days later, the bank called Christine about unusual activity on the account where she had stashed my money. Turns out transferring that much money at once triggered a fraud alert, especially since the account was so new. Christine came home freaking out. She asked if I'd been messing with our accounts. I just looked at her and said I thought she'd know better than me, since I'm apparently too stupid to notice things like that. Her face went white. She asked what I meant. I told her I was in the basement during her entire wine Wednesday and heard everything. She tried to deny it, said I must have misunderstood, that they were just joking around. I pulled out my phone and played part of the recording, the part where she and her sister were discussing how to convince our kids to lie about me. She lunged for my phone, but I pulled it away. She slapped me hard across the face. I didn't hit back, just told her not to touch me again and walked away. That night, she slept in the guest room. I could hear her crying and on the phone with someone, probably her sister. The next morning, she got another call from the bank. Apparently, there's now a fraud investigation because of the sudden, large transfer and withdrawal attempts. She started screaming at me, saying I set her up. Then she got a call from her lawyer. I couldn't hear everything but from her reactions. I'm guessing they told her about my emergency motions. She threw her phone against the wall so hard it cracked the screen. She's been texting me nonstop since then. First angry, "You ruined everything." Then trying to gaslight me. "It wasn't what you think. We were just venting." And now she's trying to guilt me. Think about the kids. Yesterday, Child Protective Services showed up to interview the kids. Turns out my lawyer filed a report based on the recorded conversation about them coaching the kids to lie. The kids apparently told the social worker the truth, that mom had been telling them to say I yell and scare them, which I never do. Christine is absolutely losing it. She keeps switching between threatening me and begging me. Her mom and sister have been blowing up my phone too. They're saying I'm destroying the family, that I should just be a man and let Christine have what she wants. I'm meeting with my lawyer again tomorrow to go over next steps. I'm determined to protect myself and my kids from these toxic people. I'm so angry I can barely see straight, but I'm trying to stay smart about this. Not sure what happens next, but I know one thing. I'm going to make sure they regret ever thinking I was too stupid to catch on to their little plan. Update coming after I meet with the lawyer. I'm open to advice on how to handle this, especially with the kids. They're confused, and Christine is telling them this is all my fault. Update 1. I can't believe how many of you have been through similar stuff. I'm trying to stay focused and not let my emotions get the better of me. But some days it's fucking hard. So I met with my lawyer, let's call him Vincent, the day after my last post. Showed him the screenshots of all the bank transfers, the full recording, and all the texts from Christine, where she's basically incriminating herself more with every message. Vincent isn't just good, he's scary good. He looked through everything and just nodded, taking notes on his iPad while occasionally smirking. When I asked what he was thinking, he said this case was refreshingly straightforward compared to most divorces he handles. Vincent advised me to act normal at home while we get everything in order. Hardest fucking acting job of my life. Christine has been switching between sobbing mess and cold manipulator, like she's auditioning for some twisted reality show. I wake up to her staring at me. She accidentally drops things when I walk by, and she keeps trying to corner me to just talk about this like adults. Yeah, like she was being real adult-like, plotting to take my kids and plant drugs in my car. The worst part was when she ambushed me with her sister in our kitchen. Her sister acted all sweet at first, saying we should think of the kids and not let silly misunderstandings tear apart our family. When I didn't bite, she switched to threats about how their cousin is a judge and they know people who can make things difficult for me. I just laughed and asked if she wanted to make those threats again while I had my phone recording in my pocket. She grabbed her purse and left without another word. Meanwhile, I've been finding weird shit around the house. Christine reorganized my important documents drawer, but my passport was suddenly missing. Found it later hidden in the back of her closet along with my birth certificate and social security card. She also accidentally deleted all my contacts from our shared family iPad. Good thing I'm not a complete idiot and had backups. I decided to play their game but smarter. Vincent suggested documenting everything while keeping a perfectly clean record. I installed a security camera in our living room, completely legal since it's a common area. After telling Christine it was for home security after a supposed break-in down the street, she believed me until she realized it captures sound, too. The look on her face when she figured that out was priceless. The kids have been the hardest part. Christine tries to talk to them alone constantly, but I've been making sure we do lots of family activities together so she doesn't get the chance. Last weekend she tried to take them to her mom's house without telling me, but I, coincidentally, suggested we all go to that new trampoline park they've been begging to visit. The kids were so excited that Christine couldn't say no without looking like the bad guy. 3 days ago, I found something that made my blood boil. I was looking for the charger for my electric razor when I found Christine's phone from last year, an old Samsung, hidden in her bathroom drawer. It was still working and not password protected. I scrolled through and found months of texts between her and this guy Xavier, who apparently works at one of the fancy client companies her firm handles. The text went way beyond professional. Lots of heart emojis, inside jokes about me, and plans to meet for coffee at weird hours. What really got me was a text from February where she sent him a picture of our son's honor roll certificate, and Xavier replied, "He'll be calling me dad soon enough, LOL. I wanted to throw that phone through the fucking wall. Instead, I took screenshots of everything and sent them to my email. The next day, I accidentally mentioned Xavier's name during dinner, saying I ran into someone Christine works with at the gas station. She choked on her drink and asked which client I meant. I played dumb and said, "That tall guy? Xavier? He mentioned you guys had a meeting coming up." She turned white and started texting under the table immediately. Vincent says the texts aren't proof of physical cheating, but definitely show emotional infidelity, which helps our case. He's already filed for temporary custody orders that would keep the kids with me in our house during the proceedings. The hearing is next week. Yesterday, Christine cornered me in the garage while I was fixing our son's bike. She tried a completely new approach, apologizing and crying about how she made a terrible mistake, said she was insecure about turning 40 next year and got caught up with her fancy friends, who made her feel like she deserved more. She even admitted that Xavier had been filling her head with ideas about the lifestyle she could have with him instead. When tears didn't work, she tried to get physical, pressing herself against me and saying we could work this out without lawyers. I backed away immediately and told her the only communicating we'd be doing from now on would be through Vincent. She called me a heartless asshole and said this is why she wanted to leave, because I never cared about her feelings. I just laughed and asked if I was supposed to care about her feelings after hearing her call me a minimum wage loser and plot to take my children. She slammed the door so hard one of the garage windows cracked. The real shit hit the fan today, though. Christine's been telling her side to anyone who'll listen. Friends, family, coworkers. This morning, I got a call from my boss asking if everything was okay at home because Christine had called the office crying, saying she was concerned about my mental health and anger issues and wanted to warn them I might be unstable at work. I was fucking livid. This is exactly what they talked about in their wine night, trying to make me look unstable to everyone. Luckily, my boss has known me for 7 years and said he was only calling as a courtesy to let me know what was happening. I explained the situation, and he was surprisingly cool about it. Said his brother went through something similar and offered to give me flexible hours for the court dates coming up. But Christine wasn't done. This afternoon, I got a text from our neighbor saying Christine was outside talking to anyone who would listen about how concerned she was about me and how she feared for her safety but was trying to help me get the help I need. She even told the school counselor I was having a breakdown and needed to be approached carefully during pickup. So I decided to stop playing defense. I called Vincent and got the green light for my plan. I texted Christine's boss, who I've met several times at company events, and asked for a brief meeting. He agreed to see me on my lunch break tomorrow. I'm bringing copies of the recordings, the bank statements showing the stolen money, and the screenshots of her plotting with her family to file false reports against me. I'm not asking him to fire her or anything illegal like that. I just want someone else in her daily life to know exactly who they're dealing with. Vincent says it's perfectly legal since I'm not lying or threatening anyone, just sharing documented facts with someone who should probably be aware of an employee stealing money and planning to file false reports. I also reached out to our kids' teachers and the principal to get ahead of whatever Christine is telling them. Had a good talk with the principal who said they would make sure to require both parents' permission for anyone to pick up the kids from now on. Christine doesn't know any of this yet. She's currently at her sister's house plotting their next move, thinking they're still in control of this situation. Tomorrow they'll realize they're not the only ones who can play this game. The most satisfying part so far? The bank officially denied Christine's attempt to recover the money from the frozen account. The look on her face when she opened that email was something I'll treasure forever. She threw her phone so hard it left a dent in our kitchen wall. I'll update again after the custody hearing next week. This is far from over, but for the first time since this nightmare started, I feel like I'm winning. Update 2. Sorry for the delay in updating. Things have been absolute chaos the past week. The temporary custody hearing happened, and holy shit, you guys won't believe what went down. So I met with Christine's boss like I planned. Seemed like a decent guy. Listened to the recording without interrupting, then asked if I had copies of the bank statements showing the missing money. When I showed him, he got real quiet and asked if he could keep copies of everything. Turns out the company has a strict ethics policy, and Christine had just been put in charge of a client account with access to their marketing budget. Her boss thanked me for coming in and said he needed to discuss some things with HR. I figured that was that. The day of the custody hearing arrived, and I was nervous as hell. My parents drove 3 hours to watch the kids so they wouldn't have to be at the courthouse. My dad pulled me aside before I left and handed me a check for $5,000. Said it was money he'd been saving for a fishing boat, but this was more important. I tried to refuse, but he insisted, saying real men take care of their families no matter what. Made me tear up a bit, TBH. Vincent met me outside the courthouse looking sharp in his suit. Christine arrived with her sister and some woman in an expensive pantsuit who I assumed was her lawyer. Christine looked exhausted but had clearly put effort into looking put together. New haircut, nice outfit, makeup done perfectly. She wouldn't make eye contact with me. Inside, things got weird fast. Christine's lawyer asked to speak privately with the judge. After about 15 minutes, they called us back in, and the judge seemed irritated. He asked Christine's lawyer if she was ready to proceed. The lawyer then asked for a continuance, saying they needed more time to prepare. Vincent objected immediately, pointing out that Christine was the one who initiated the proceedings and that the children's stability was at stake. The judge denied the continuance and things proceeded. When it was Christine's turn to testify, she was a mess, contradicted herself multiple times, couldn't provide any evidence of abuse, and when Vincent played the recording during cross-examination, she actually shouted at him to turn it off. The judge was not impressed. Then came the bombshell. Christine's sister was supposed to testify next, but when they called her name, she wasn't in the courtroom. Her lawyer looked confused and asked for a brief recess to locate her. Judge gave them 10 minutes. When we returned, Christine's lawyer announced that her witness was no longer available, and they'd proceed without her testimony. Vincent asked why, and the lawyer just repeated that she was unavailable. The judge looked suspicious, but moved on. We ended up getting temporary primary custody, with Christine having supervised visits every other weekend. When the judge announced his decision, Christine stormed out of the courtroom without waiting for her lawyer. Outside, I found Christine's sister, Melanie, sitting on a bench alone. She looked up at me with red eyes and asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I sat down. What she told me blew my mind. Apparently, Christine had been lying to everyone. She told her family I was emotionally abusive, controlling, and had gambling debts. She claimed I'd threatened to take the kids away if she ever left me. Melanie admitted she'd helped Christine plan everything because she believed her sister was in danger. But that morning, Christine had slipped up. While getting ready for court, she'd mentioned that once she got full custody and the divorce settlement, she and Xavier were planning to move to his hometown. Melanie had no idea who Xavier was and asked about him. Christine got defensive and said it was none of her business. After Christine went to the bathroom, Melanie checked her phone, which Christine had left unlocked, and found hundreds of messages between them going back over a year. Not just an emotional affair. They'd been sleeping together for months. Xavier had been pushing Christine to leave me, promising to take care of her properly once she was free. The real kicker? In the texts, Christine admitted to Xavier that she'd made up all the abuse allegations. She wrote that I was just boring and poor, but she needed to play the victim card to get a better settlement. She even joked about how easily her family believed her lies. Melanie was devastated. She realized she'd been manipulated into helping destroy an innocent person's life. That's why she couldn't testify. She couldn't lie under oath now that she knew the truth, but she also couldn't testify against her sister. So she just left. She showed me screenshots she'd taken of the conversations, including one where Christine told Xavier that her idiot sister and mother were useful idiots in her plan. Melanie was in tears, saying she'd never forgive Christine for using her like this. I thanked Melanie for telling me the truth and asked if she'd be willing to make a statement to my lawyer. She hesitated but agreed to think about it. As she was leaving, she mentioned something that explained a lot. Apparently, Christine had always been jealous of her friends with wealthy husbands. She'd complained for years about being stuck with a blue-collar guy, while her college friends married men with real careers. When I got home, my mom was helping the kids with homework while my dad fixed our leaky kitchen faucet. Seeing them there, just being normal, supportive parents, made me realize how toxic Christine's family had been all along. The next day, things got even crazier. Christine didn't show up for work, and when her boss tried calling her, she didn't answer. He called me asking if I knew where she was. I said I hadn't seen her since court. He seemed worried and mentioned that there were discrepancies they'd discovered in some client accounts after reviewing her work more carefully. I gave him Christine's sister's number in case it was an emergency. Later that day, Christine finally texted me. Just 4 words. "You ruined my life." I didn't respond. The kids were confused about why Mommy wasn't home. I tried to explain in an age-appropriate way, saying that Mommy and Daddy were having grown-up problems and needed to live apart for a while. My daughter asked if it was because Mommy was always mad at me. I was shocked. I thought we'd hidden our problems well. Turns out kids notice everything. Friday night, Christine showed up for her first supervised visit with the kids. The supervisor, appointed by the court, was already at our house when Christine arrived. She looked terrible, hadn't showered, wearing the same clothes from court. The kids were excited to see her at first, but Christine was so obviously upset that they got uncomfortable. She barely spoke, just stared at them like she was memorizing their faces. After only 30 minutes, she said she wasn't feeling well and left. The supervisor made notes about the whole thing. Saturday morning, I woke up to 27 missed calls from Christine's mom. When I finally called back, she was screaming about how I'd destroyed her daughter's life, said Christine had been fired from her job and was facing an internal investigation for financial irregularities. She blamed me for telling lies to Christine's boss. I told her I only shared the recording and bank statements showing what Christine had done to me. If there were other issues at her job, that had nothing to do with me. She hung up on me. That afternoon, my doorbell rang. It was Xavier. I recognized him from company photos on Christine's firm's website. He looked nothing like I expected. Shorter than me, balding, but wearing clothes that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. He asked if Christine was there. I said no and asked why he'd come to my house looking for my wife. He got all nervous and said there had been a misunderstanding and he needed to speak with Christine urgently. I asked what kind of misunderstanding, and he actually said they were just friends and he was worried about her. I laughed in his face and told him I'd seen all their texts. His face went white. Then he made a big mistake. He tried to push past me into my house. I blocked him and pushed him back onto the porch. He stumbled backward and fell on his ass. When he got up, he threatened to call the police and have me arrested for assault. I pointed at my doorbell camera and asked if he really wanted the police to see him trying to force his way into my home. He left, but not before warning me that I had no idea who I was dealing with and that he had connections. I just closed the door in his face. Sunday night, Christine's sister Melanie called. She'd gone to Christine's hotel room to check on her and found her drinking heavily. Christine had admitted everything to her. The affair with Xavier, the lies about abuse, and the real reason for the divorce. Apparently, Xavier had promised to leave his wife for her once her divorce was final. Now he was ghosting her calls and she was falling apart. But the most shocking thing? Melanie discovered that the $35,000 Christine had transferred wasn't even all of our money. About $20,000 of it came from her company's client accounts that she had access to. She'd been embezzling from her job and planned to blame accounting errors if caught. Melanie asked what I was going to do with this information. I told her I hadn't decided yet, but Vincent needed to know everything. She agreed to meet with him Monday. The next bombshell dropped this morning. Christine showed up at my workplace, hysterical and causing a scene in the lobby. She was screaming that I had set her up and ruined her life. Security had to escort her out, but not before everyone heard her accuse me of everything from abuse to stealing from her. My boss called me into his office afterward. I was sure I was about to get fired for bringing drama to work. Instead, he slid a folder across his desk. Inside were printouts of emails Christine had sent to company management last night, claiming I was violent, unstable, and had threatened her and Xavier. She'd attached photos of bruises that looked suspiciously like makeup and demanded I be fired immediately. My boss said normally this would trigger an HR investigation, but given the timing and the fact that Christine had just made a scene, confirming she was unstable, they were inclined to dismiss her claims. But he wanted my side of the story. I told him everything, showed him the court documents, the recording, everything. He shook his head and said his ex-wife had pulled similar stunts during their divorce. He assured me my job was safe and to let him know if I needed any schedule flexibility for court dates. When I got home, there was a letter from Christine's new lawyer, apparently she fired the first one, demanding access to all our financial records and threatening to expose my hidden assets if I didn't comply. Vincent says this is a desperate attempt to delay proceedings and that we should continue pushing for a quick resolution. I'm meeting with Vincent tomorrow to discuss our next steps. Christine doesn't know it yet, but Melanie gave him a sworn statement this afternoon, along with all the screenshots of Christine's conversations with Xavier, where she admits to lying about the abuse. Christine's web of lies is unraveling fast, and I'm not going to stop until everyone sees exactly who she really is. Final update. First of all, I can't believe it's been almost 2 months since my last update. Things have been absolutely insane. But we finally had our day in court, and holy shit, what a day it was. Grab some popcorn because this is going to be a wild ride. So after everything that went down with Christine's sister Melanie coming forward, I thought maybe Christine would finally back down and try to settle. Nope. Instead, she doubled down and went full scorched earth. The day after Melanie met with Vincent, Christine somehow found out about it and completely lost her shit. She showed up at Melanie's apartment at like 3 a.m., pounding on the door and screaming that Melanie was dead to her. Melanie's neighbors called the cops, and Christine got a warning for disturbing the peace. She was drunk and belligerent with the officers too, which definitely didn't help her case. Meanwhile, Vincent was absolutely crushing it. He filed a motion to get Christine's work records included as evidence since her embezzlement showed a pattern of dishonesty and financial manipulation. Her new lawyer tried to block it, arguing it wasn't relevant to our divorce. But the judge allowed it since Christine had specifically accused me of financial abuse in her initial filing. Christine's supervised visits with the kids were going terribly. She'd either cancel last minute or show up late and spend the whole time complaining about me or crying. My son started having nightmares, and my daughter would get stomach aches before visits. The court-appointed supervisor documented everything, which just strengthened our case for full custody. About 3 weeks before our final court date, I got a call from my cousin Landon, who lives in the same neighborhood as Xavier, Christine's affair partner. He mentioned he'd seen Xavier and Christine together at a restaurant looking very cozy. I thought that was weird since Xavier had supposedly ghosted her after all the drama. Landon sent me a pic he snapped discreetly, and sure enough, there they were, holding hands across the table. I forwarded the pic to Vincent, who did some digging. Turns out Xavier's wife had filed for divorce, citing his affair with a colleague's spouse as the reason. Vincent managed to get in touch with Xavier's wife's lawyer, and they agreed to share some information that might benefit both our cases. What they shared blew my mind. Xavier and Christine had a plan. They'd been plotting for over a year to leave their spouses and start a new life together, but they wanted to extract maximum money from both divorces first. Xavier's wife had found a literal checklist on his laptop titled Exit Strategy, with steps like C secures custody, C maximizes settlement, X finalizes offshore transfer, etc. Xavier's wife had already submitted this as evidence in their divorce, so Vincent was able to subpoena those records for our case. The checklist explicitly mentioned tactics Christine should use, including false abuse allegations. It even had a timeline. A week before court, Christine tried one last desperate move. She sent me a text saying she had evidence that would destroy me if I didn't agree to her terms: full custody, the house, and 70% of my future income as support. I forwarded it to Vincent, who told me not to respond. Classic Christine. All threats, no substance. The day of court finally arrived. My parents came to stay with the kids again. My dad hugged me before I left and told me no matter what happened in court, I'd already won by being the kind of father who fights for his kids. Not gonna lie, I teared up a bit. I arrived at the courthouse to find an unexpected crowd. Christine's mom, her sister Melanie, two of Christine's wine night friends, Karen and some other woman, Xavier, and even Xavier's soon-to-be ex-wife. Apparently, everyone wanted to see how this would play out. When Christine arrived with her lawyer, she looked terrible. She'd lost weight, her hair was a mess, and she was wearing a dress that was way too formal for divorce court, like she was going to a gala or something. She glared at me, and then at Melanie, who was sitting on my side of the gallery. The proceedings started normally enough with opening statements from both lawyers. Christine's lawyer tried to paint me as a controlling husband who resented my wife's success. Vincent simply stated we would let the evidence speak for itself. When Christine took the stand, things immediately went off the rails. She started sobbing about how scared she'd been in our marriage, how I'd isolated her, controlled the money, etc. The judge asked for specific examples, and she mentioned how I'd forced her to work 2 jobs to support the family while she was trying to finish school. The judge looked confused and asked if I had prevented her from working. She had to admit that no, I hadn't. I was the one working 2 jobs. It only got worse from there. Her lawyer tried to redirect, but Christine kept contradicting herself. When asked about the $35,000, she claimed it was her money that she'd been saving separately. The judge asked for documentation of where the money came from, and her lawyer had to admit they didn't have any. Then, it was Vincent's turn for cross-examination. He was surgical. First, he asked about her statements during the wine night. She claimed she didn't remember saying those things or that they were taken out of context. That's when Vincent played the full recording. Not just the excerpt I'd captured on my phone, but a crystal-clear version from the security camera I'd installed in the living room that captured the conversation through the vents. You could hear everything, including parts I hadn't even remembered. Christine tried to object, saying I'd recorded her illegally, but the judge shut that down fast since it was in our home, where I was also present. The recording was devastating. You could hear Christine laughing about how pathetic I was working 2 shit jobs, while her friends encouraged her. Then came the bombshell. Vincent presented evidence from Christine's workplace showing the embezzlement, along with the exit strategy document from Xavier's computer. Christine's face went from red to white in seconds. She looked over at Xavier, who was staring at the floor. The judge called a recess, and in the hallway, all hell broke loose. Christine lunged at Melanie, screaming that she was a traitor. A bailiff had to physically separate them. Then Xavier tried to leave, but his wife blocked his path and loudly announced to everyone that he'd been transferring their joint assets to an offshore account. Xavier's face was priceless. When court resumed, Christine's lawyer asked for a continuance to review the new evidence. The judge denied it and asked Christine if she wanted to modify her testimony given what had been presented. Her lawyer whispered to her furiously, but Christine just stared straight ahead. The judge wasn't happy. He pointed out multiple inconsistencies in Christine's testimony and expressed concern about her attempts to alienate the children from me. When Vincent presented the supervisor's reports from Christine's visits, showing how she'd been bad-mouthing me to the kids, the judge looked genuinely angry. After lunch break, Christine's lawyer announced they wanted to propose a settlement. The judge allowed us to use a conference room. Their offer was ridiculous. Christine would drop the abuse allegations if I gave her the house and half my income. Vincent actually laughed out loud and countered with our terms. I keep primary custody, the house, and Christine would repay the $35,000 plus legal fees. Christine started crying again, saying she had no money to repay anything since she'd lost her job. Vincent pointed out that she still had the money in the frozen account. She admitted she'd spent some of it already on hotel rooms and expenses. The judge ordered a full accounting of where every dollar went. In the end, the judge granted me full legal custody with Christine having supervised visitation until she completes parenting classes and therapy. I got the house, my retirement account stayed mine, and Christine was ordered to repay the $35,000 within 6 months or face contempt charges. The judge also referred the embezzlement evidence to the district attorney's office for possible criminal charges. As we were leaving, Christine's mom cornered me in the hallway. I expected more screaming, but instead she looked defeated. She asked if I would make sure the kids still knew their grandmother. Despite everything, I said of course they would. The kids love her. And I'm not about to use them as pawns like Christine tried to do. Xavier scurried out without looking at anyone. His wife followed him, still laying into him about the offshore accounts. Karen and the other wine night friend were huddled with Christine, who was crying hysterically in the corner of the lobby. Melanie caught up with me outside and apologized again for her part in everything. She showed me texts from Christine threatening to make her pay for betraying her. I suggested she might want to stay with friends for a while, just to be safe. The aftermath has been weirdly quiet and chaotic at the same time. Christine moved in with her mom temporarily. She's been sending me long, rambling texts, alternating between apologies and accusations. I don't respond to the emotional stuff, only factual questions about the kids or divorce proceedings. The kids are doing better now that there's some stability. My daughter asked if mommy was sick in her brain because she acts so different all the time. I just told her that mommy is going through a hard time and seeing doctors to help her feel better. Not sure if that was the right thing to say, but I'm trying my best. Last week, Christine finally had her first unsupervised visit with the kids since she completed the first part of her court-ordered parenting classes. It went okay according to my son, though Christine spent most of the time asking questions about me and our house, rather than focusing on them. My parents have been amazing through all this. My mom comes over twice a week to help with the kids while I'm at work, and my dad has been teaching my son how to fish on weekends. It's the kind of normal, drama-free family support the kids need right now. As for Christine's future, I heard through Melanie that she's interviewing for jobs but having trouble because of the pending embezzlement investigation. Xavier apparently broke things off with her for real this time when he realized she couldn't help him financially anymore. What a stand-up guy, right? The house feels different now. Quieter, but also more peaceful. I took down all the family photos with Christine and replaced them with new ones of just me and the kids. My daughter helped me repaint the living room, a color Christine always hated. Small change, but it feels symbolic somehow. I've had a lot of people suggest I should start dating again, but honestly, I'm not ready. The idea of trusting someone like that again seems impossible right now. Plus, the kids need stability more than I need a relationship. The one bright spot in all this mess? My boss gave me a raise last week. Said he was impressed with how I'd handled everything while still maintaining my work quality. The extra money helps since I'm now a single dad with full custody. I never expected my life to implode like this at 36, but I'm starting to see a path forward. The kids are resilient, I've got supportive parents, and Christine can't hurt us anymore. Her web of lies finally collapsed completely, and all she's left with is the consequences of her own actions. Thanks for all the support and advice throughout this nightmare. Never thought I'd be posting my divorce drama on Reddit, but it actually helped to write it all out and get feedback from people who've been through similar situations. If there's anything major that happens, I might post another update, but for now, I think this chapter of my life is finally closing.